Of those 64 immigrants, I found a little over half in New York and Wisconsin. 12 of them I haven't been able to find where they went to. And then there are several other places that I found them. 5 were in Michigan, 4 went to South America, 3 of them to Brazil, and 1 a nun who went to Curaçao, one of the Dutch Antilles. 2 to Iowa, 2 to Minnesota, Ohio, and then several individuals went to other destinations, most of them more to the west. So New York is the biggest group of people, biggest destination in this group of people. So it's a major destination for people who emigrate from the Bredevoort area. So far I've found a lot of them in Clymer, over 550 people, but I've also found smaller groups in Rochester, New York City, Buffalo, Albany and Kingston. But Clymer is really the #1 destination in New York. So that land was bought by the Holland Land Company. One of the founders of that Holland Land Company was actually a Willink who had roots in Winterswijk. So I don't know, I think that's a very interesting idea to research. I don't know if he had contact with people from Winterswijk and that's how he persuaded them to come to Clymer, but there might be something in that. The first Winterswijk settlers were there in 1844, including 2 of our group of people born in 1839. And I found 554 people so far that settled in Chautauqua County. So this is a map of Clymer in 1880, and if we take a random fragment, we'll see lots of Dutch names. So I've highlighted all the names that are from people who originally came from Winterswijk. There's even, if we go over here, there's even a Hoitink there, so that's a distant cousin of mine who settled in Clymer. The #2 destination for this group and the #1 destination overall for people from the Bredevoort area is Wisconsin, especially Sheboygan County. I found more than 800 immigrants who lived for a shorter or longer time in Sheboygan County, especially in the villages of Cedar Grove and Oostburg. Alto, Waupun is also very popular, and several other people went to Milwaukee, Baldwin, Randolph and Madison. One of our group went to Madison, Jan Hendrik de Kortschot, and he eventually became a mayor of that town, of that city in 1893. So that's American dream come true, I guess. Wisconsin is also important if you look at migration patterns within the US. So Milwaukee, Wisconsin was the first destination, people arriving there around 1844. But then in 1845 people moved on from Milwaukee to Sheboygan and to Alto and Waupun. 1856, a group of people from Alto moved further westwards to Greenleafton, Minnesota, where they founded a settlement. It wasn't called Greenleafton at the time, but for simplicity I'll just call it Greenleafton, because land was cheaper over there. In 1870 a group from Sheboygan went to Lincoln, Nebraska, and in 1884 a group from Greenleafton went to Prairie View, Kansas. This is just a very simplified view. Of course there were people after the first group went from Alto to Greenleafton who came directly from Dixpelo or Winterswijk to Greenleafton or to Prairie View or to Lincoln. But this just shows you some of the patterns that people that I've researched made when they moved from one place to the next. Wisconsin is a major destination for Dutch immigrants, at least from in the area that I'm researching, and it has an important role in these migration patterns because there are so many secondary settlements that were founded from people who moved on from Wisconsin. These were either first generation immigrants like in our group who emigrated as children, and then by the time they were old enough to create their own farms that the land was too dear, so they went further west, or the second generation immigrants who were born to Dutch parents and decided to move west. If you compare the number of people born in the Netherlands who were listed in the 1860 census for 3 of the destinations that have gotten most of the academic attention in recent years, Illinois, Iowa and Michigan, with the numbers in Wisconsin, you can see that Wisconsin is really a major destination for Dutch immigrants. It isn't just recently that Wisconsin hasn't received a lot of attention from academics and scholars. I found an interesting article in the Nieuwsbode, Sheboygan Nieuwsbode, in 1850 describing a visit by Isaac Wijkhoff, who is going to who's making a tour through the Midwest to visit all Dutch settlements to see if they were interested, if the Christian Reformed churches there were interested in joining the synod. And he describes his trip to Michigan in detail, and saying how he was welcomed by Van Raalte, who showed him around and told him to visit all these places. And then he says, because I spent a week longer than I had planned in Michigan, it was impossible for me to visit the settlements and churches in Wisconsin. So as early as 1850 or 1849, Michigan got more attention than Wisconsin. So I'm glad we're here today to help rectify that a bit. During my research, this is all the places that I found people emigrating from the Bredevoort area. So it's really a wider spread than I would have anticipated before I started. We say people as far away as Montana. Actually, it's one of our group, Harmian Teselle, who went there. We see people in Colorado, Nebraska, Kansas, Kentucky, Ohio. Ohio was a major destination for Catholic immigrants. So that's really quite a big spread. And yeah, it's not small numbers either. I mean, there's 45 people in Ohio, 20 people in South Dakota. I found over 50 people who went to South America, 30 more people who went to Canada. And I've not researched the number of people who went to Germany, because that was out of scope for my research, and because Winterswijk is just a couple of miles from the German border, that's just too numerous to count. I hope that by giving you this presentation and focusing on one group born in 1839, I've been able to show you just how big a number of immigrants this is, how large the group is that emigrated from the Bredevoort area. I also hope to have shown how patterns emerge when you're researching entire populations and not just focusing on the statistics of the immigrants, but trying to follow individual people using genealogy as a research tool to see not only when people emigrated, but also how they were related to people who emigrated before them. And I hope to have give you some idea of the importance of Wisconsin in Dutch emigration. So I'd like to thank you for your attention, and if you've got any questions, you can find background immigration about Dutch genealogy and immigration at my website at www.dutchgenealogy.nl. You can also find my genealogy database there with information about over 55,000 people from the area at /tng, or you can email me at yvette@dutchgenealogy.nl. Thank you very much.